This is Tom Rust for TRSB Sports Podcast. Today, once again, it's been a while, but I'm delighted to be joined by Carl Draper from Boxing Royalty. How you doing, mate?
I'm all good, mate. All the better for seeing you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Where you been hiding then? It's been a while since you've been on the channel.
Mate, it's been the last few months have been quite mad. Obviously, I've been working with a lot of people like Hughes. That just went fucking mental, mate. For 3 months, everyone wanted a Maxi hoodie or a tracksuit or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then obviously we come into July and that was all about Jack, the punk kid. Obviously, he fought and Jamie Smith. So I spent like literally every Saturday and Sunday in July, and then even Thursdays, either in Pug or at Amersham at the Evolve gym. So, mate, it was just mental. I've had no time to even scratch my own arse, if I'm honest.
How are you finding it now, though? Like I know, like from speaking to you a lot, you've got a lot more people wanting you to sort them out tracksuits, etc. How are you finding it all?
It's quite surreal, to be honest. If you'd have said to me 6 months ago I'd be where I am now, I'd have laughed at you. Like I would have genuinely, like 6 months ago. No disrespect to the people I was working with. Like we go back to November last year. I
Yeah.
was working with Mark Little. Like that was it. And then we went into the year and I got messed about by a fighter. I name him now Raza Hamza. We've done all his merch and he fucked me over. And I'm only saying that because he got fucked over of a fight this weekend. He weren't able to fight. So that's karma. Um, and then, this year it started off and we went into March with Jack Newham on the 12th, where we was at York Hall. And then Mark Little again, the 26th. And since then, mate, I've worked with some top names and some top prospects coming through. To name a few, obviously, like I say, still Mark Little, Jack Newham, Nicola Hopewell. She's got her debut in a few weeks. I'm talking, well, Maxi Hughes as well, obviously. Harvey Dykes, he's a very good prospect, mate. I watched him spar Jamie Smith for his Southern Area fight the other week. He's fighting, I think he's end of the year. He's turning over. But yeah, mate, it's good. I still do it on my own. So I'm juggling at 8 till 5, Monday to Friday, and every other Saturday in with it, as well as going to support fighters. At the weekend I was at a show. The weekend before I was at a show. So it's busy, but mate, I wouldn't have it any other way. And hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be doing it full time.
So well, you sort of just partly answered the next question. I was just going to say, where do you go from here? How do you evolve?
It's quite hard because like when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is my Instagram. And I'm not just saying it. When I wake up, I do have about 8, 9 notifications, and whether that's reactions to stories or people messaging back. And for the last 6 months, I haven't had to message fighters. I've met fighters at gyms and we've just spoken. It's gone from there. But if I could map out the next 6 months, it would be a case of, get to October, November, have my own little space to do it, because at the moment I am at home and I do it at home and it's hard, trying to get around people and do it myself. But it would be okay, have my own space and then be on the verge of touching part-time work. If I could just go into work and do 20 hours a week and earn enough to cover that extra 20 hours, I'd be more than happy.
What are your biggest challenges doing it?
It's time, and some professionals, I won't mention some, but they're so picky. And I understand it, it's their fight week merch. They want to look the part. But it's like, I get a lot of people message me. And for instance, like Nicola Hopewell, she messaged me 2 weeks ago. I've had 15 shirts done in a week. They're done. They're ready to go. That's from her messaging me to them turning up to me, to being printed, to being sent. But then, like I say, the biggest challenge is, you can say the fighters, but also it's finding the time at the minute. I leave my house at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm home at 5:45 at night, and I'm literally, and I'm not just saying it, I walk into my bedroom, I turn my printer on, and when I'm at work, I mock the designs up. So I mock everything up that needs printing. I will then turn my printer straight on, print it, shower, eat, then cut everything, turn the press on, and print. And it gets to this time at night, and I'm like, I haven't even sat down. Do you know what I mean? So it's finding the time, but again, that will come with the more work that comes, I hope.
Yeah, I suppose though it's only a good thing, mate. You're getting busier. More people are finding out about you. I suppose a lot of it is word of mouth as well. You work with one boxer, they know someone else. Then, like you said before, you're doing a lot more.
100%. And people say working with the bigger fighters will always work wonders. It isn't a case of that, mate. Like there's an amateur, I think he's white collar, Ashley Hedges. I've done him 3 shirts and a tracksuits, and from that I've probably earned about 400 quid. and that was just a simple message off of Instagram. And then I've worked with, say, Maxi Hughes, or four together with Maxi, and I've had no pros come from that I know of. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, you get a lot of people, oh, you shouldn't be working. Like I went to, oh, you shouldn't be working with this, and you shouldn't be looking after journeymen. Like obviously, I look after Lewis Van Poch, Pucci, and Lee Hallett as my ambassadors. And people say to me, oh, you shouldn't associate yourself with losers. I said, well, why not? You know, these guys, without them, you wouldn't have prospects. So I'll work with anyone, mate. It doesn't bother me. And whether you're amateur, you're retired, whatever you are, if you need anything, just message me and I'll do it for you 100%.
Yeah, at the end of the day, mate, business is business. Whether you're dealing with a world champion or someone who's making their debut, if they're going to give you their business and want you to produce their tracksuits or etc., you're not going to turn it down.
No way. Money's money, mate. That's what it is.
So, mate, I need to cast your mind back to last weekend, Jack Hughes' fight against Paul Roberts, the rematch for the Southern Area title. I know you were there ringside. I heard you shouting on your stories on Instagram. Just talk to us about that night, mate.
Mate, in terms of like in friendships, I've never been proud of a friend in my life. And I mean that. Like Jack, I spent a lot of time with Jack in camp, and I'd seen the lows of Jack. You know, I see your interview of him the other day, and he said it was his best and worst camp. You know, there was times in that camp where I thought, like to myself, obviously not out loud to Jack, you're not getting in that ring. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just something holding you back. And like he said to you on the day, he woke up and he's like, I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
He trained. When I see him in the gym, and I, you know, you can go back on interviews on anything I've done. I've never seen a Jack Hughes like it. And I said it in the good luck video. You're fitter, you're stronger, you're faster. And he genuinely looked it. But I could always see there was something in his mind that was telling him, don't get in that ring, but you're not ready to go. And I booked fight week off, and I think I went down with him to State of Mind on the Monday, and he did 10 rounds on the bag, and he just flew through it. And it was in that heat. It was like 37 degrees. And I thought, yeah, there's no way Paul's beating him. There's just absolutely no way. And then the Wednesday, I see him at the check weigh, and he was a bit more aggy, but then I suppose he's close to the weight. Now it is where you're just literally 1-2 meals and 2 litres of water. And then I went round on the weighing day, and he was fairly relaxed, but I sensed something. You know, we was in the car on the way there, and I sensed something. He put his music on, he got a bit looser. But mate, on fight night, I mean, I was an absolute wreck. I didn't drink for the purpose of what happened with Mark Little. Not that I was smashed or pissed, but I got too emotionally involved, you know. So I met Justin Johnson, one of Maxi's sponsors, and also Jack's now. And we had some food. I was literally drinking shandy. I didn't touch nothing else. I thought I can't, because, you know, when going back to the weigh-in, when Paul and Jack stood face to face, Paul looked fantastic, mate. And he did. He looked ripped. He looked ready. He looked healthy. And he was smiling at Jack at the face-off. And I was thinking, this smug prick. I was trying my hardest to hate Paul Roberts, but I just couldn't, because he's a nice guy.
He's a likable character.
And we had him laugh. And I said to him at the weigh-in, I walked up the stairs and all his team were there. And I was behind Jack, Kieran, Terry, and Terry's nephew. And I thought, please don't stop and shake their hands, because that means I've got to. And like Paul and Jack put their arms around each other. And I shook everyone on Paul's team's hand. And Paul just like looked at me, and it was like one of them, like, oh, what do I do? Like, I was like, okay, mate, yeah, good luck, fair play, nice to see you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we move on to the fight, mate. And honestly, it couldn't have gone any more perfect for the first half of the fight for Jack. It sounds like a harsh way to say it, but he schooled Paul. And this brings me on to something I said. Like, everyone was coming up to me in the build-up and saying it's a 50-50 fight. And I said, I don't see how you can say it's 50-50 when Jack fought 8 rounds blind in the first fight. And that's no disrespect to Paul, because I think Jack is a better boxer than Paul, but he's also older than Paul. But the first 5 rounds, mate, Jack was fainting. And every time he fainted, it led Paul on naturally. But then Jack was slipping and he was just moving. And I watched Jack all in camp. I never expected him to box like he did in the back foot. But, mate, for the first half of the fight, he was just incredible. The best he's ever looked. Unbelievable.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, since, you know, I first ever had a conversation with Jack Hughes, it's since like day one, really. It's been sort of a bit of an emotional roller coaster for him. I know he's meant to be fighting for the title last November against Ricky Little. He pulled out, and I think that was for like the second or third time. He did get another fight, and I know he moved up, he got the victory. And then so many other things were going on. And when I spoke to him as well, he said, like, yeah, like you were saying, he was just so angry. He was hard to be around. And we did sort of speak about maybe it was a little bit of the fear of maybe finishing his boxing career without getting that title. And then I suppose in the back of his mind, it was those people that said he wasn't going to go anywhere. They would have been right. So for me, when he talks about it, it's almost like he was so you know, so motivated to prove people wrong.
I think that's what got him through it as well, because I said to him, I think it was the Saturday before, so the week before the fight, and he was like laid out on the sofa, and I could see he was tense and that, which is natural. And I just said to him, because obviously we had the video set up, and obviously I had a message. It was like, please don't show the video till after the fight. He's in 100% physical state, but it's a mental battle now. So I sat with him on the sofa and I said, Jack, don't feel no pressure on this. Don't feel like you have to prove anything to anybody. And I said, you get in that ring and you do you and you win. I said, it's as simple as that. I said, but don't feel like you've got to do this for anyone else but yourself. And he turned around to me on the day and he said, I don't feel no pressure to perform. He has kind of admitted since the fight that he did, because he knew that if he had lost, he'd have been back down to 8th, 9th, 10th in the super flyweight rankings in Britain, which is at journeyman level again. Do you know what I mean? So it was the perfect night for him, mate. Perfect.
Do you think that may be the last we would have seen of Jack Hughes had he lost that night?
I think it would have been hard for him to come back, not on ability wise, because he is only 30. But I think the psychological battle of losing that close fight to Ricky Little, and then that prick pulling out 3 times, and then Paul Roberts the draw, and we all underestimated Paul, and then to lose, if he had have lost on Saturday, I think it would be fair to say, I think as much as he said he might not have, but how could you go back to fighting journeyman? And like you said, super flyweight, mate, there ain't no journeyman. So you either step up 2-3 weights, or you're at Southern Area level. That is literally it. And you look at Jordan Perkins, he's now in a bantamweight fight, which will be announced, and he's had to step up to get that fight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it would have been a long way back for him. And like you say, would he have been up for doing it? And the thing is as well, he done a day in the life for us. So when he's working, I know he's fortunate he has sponsors as well, but it's tough. But people, I've heard you say it, Jack said it as well. Why do you think people did underestimate Paul Roberts?
I think we spoke to Paul last night, and I've learned in say the year I've been properly involved in boxing. I say properly, I'm not in the corners or anything like that, but I see a lot more by going to gyms. When that fight was announced, I see Paul's record was something like 3-2-2. And I watched a couple of videos, and he lost to a guy in his last fight. I can't remember his name now, Ryan something. And Paul just looked dreadful. And little did I know that Paul had actually trained for an 8-rounder against someone else and got put in against this guy last minute in a 4-round, a completely different fighter. But I think it's only natural to underestimate someone that, one, you haven't heard of, and two, hasn't got anywhere near the record. Now, Jack's got a half decent record before he fought Paul. I think what was he, 6-1, 7-1? And you're always going to fancy that fighter, whether you know either of them or not. But mate, I'll be the first to admit, I did. I massively underestimated Paul, big time, and I think everyone did, because, like you say, it was just the record. No one knew him. I'd never even heard of him before. But what a guy!
Yeah, true gentleman. We had both of them on the channel at the same time to talk about the fight, and obviously we knew he's a pro boxer, but if you met him and you didn't know what he did, he's such a laid back character. I tried to say things to get under his skin to sort of fire him up, but equally Jack Hughes is quite a chilled out character. So it surprised me when he said he was so angry, which is understandable given what they have to go through and closer to fight week and weigh-ins and starving, hungry and dehydrated, etc. Where do you think Paul goes from here?
What should I say? He is Jack. Jack is going to move on. Yeah. So Jack, whether he stops here or he moves up, Jack was never going to defend the Southern Area belt. So we all know that Jack's got a fight date, right? So let's wait and see what that fight news is. I really do think that Paul deserves that shot. And like we just said, Nobody knew who he was. And he has just produced, along with Jack, two of the biggest wars and probably the second fight, the best fight I've ever seen live. So I just don't see, especially if they were a cruiserweight or something like that, there'd be someone else waiting. The only people that are waiting are Jordan Perkis, but he's got a fight date announced. And then you've got Harry Mullins, who, from what I know, doesn't want to step to that level just yet. And then you got, I think his surname's Clegg, Alfie Clegg, something like that. So listen, I think if Jack does vacate, I think Paul should be the first in line for it. I really hope he gets that shot on his home show.
What do you want to see Jack do next?
From a personal friendship level,
whatever level you want, mate.
So Jack's one of my best friends, yeah, and
you told me I was your best friend.
You're the other one.
Well, you've only got two mates, so come on.
3. I would be happy to see him hang them up now, genuinely. And people might look at that and think, because for the last 2 years of me being around boxing with Jack, I've always said, look, Jack's above Southern Area. He isn't going to stand and defend it. But my whole chain of thought after seeing them 2 fights has changed. And, I've spoke to Jack, obviously we speak a lot of the time, and he said to me about what he's going to do, and I know what he's going to do. But regardless of his decision, as a friend, I'd like to see him call it a day. I'd like to see him, as you said, all them doubters, he cried when he speaks about it. I was in that changing room after the fight, and I'd been in with his trainers all camp, and there was no emotion, mate. And when Jack went to the left in the medical room, me and Tony Pill went back, and he just lifted me. Him and Kieran lifted me in the air. And to see that, Jack, in his personal life, Jack's had a hard end to this year. That's a hard start to this year, sorry. There's been a lot going on in the background. He doesn't quite get the support that he should from people close to him. And, I see the stress he went through. I see the happiness inside him when he won that belt. We've all seen that video when he dropped to the floor and he finally got that call and the new Jack Hughes. For me, end it there. But selfishly, I'd like to see him ring walk at York Hall again to the Bad Motherfucker tune, because he is unbelievable, mate.
Now, boxing and you know about the weight categories and who's involved. And if I ever have a question, I normally ask you because you just know everything. So if he does, carry on, move up, how far can he go? I know obviously, you're emotionally invested with Jack. He's one of your closest friends, but looking at it, if he does carry on, where does he go? Who does he fight? How far?
I think you've got to take it one fight at a time with Jack. There's a very good champion at English level called Dale Arrowsmith. People look at him as a journeyman. I'm sure it's Dale Arrowsmith. I might be wrong there, but I think I'm right. People look at his record. He's got a winning record, but he's an absolute beast. Is he the right fight for Jack to take yet? Who knows? Listen, if Jack does a full camp, he could beat anyone at Southern Area / English level at flyweight and super flyweight. Now, look, Jack's a sugar baby. Jack loves a sweet. Jack loves a chocolate milkshake.
Sugar
he loves
baby.
Mate, honestly, the guy, he was about.
You could have just said he's got a sweet tooth, mate. He's a sugar.
Well, same thing, sugar baby, sweet tooth, mate.
Is that what you call him? Is that what you got him saved in your phone? As sugar baby.
Yeah, sugar baby punk kid. I went down to the shop one day and where's it is. And he said, we'd gone in there after he got back from the gym and he'd got whatever he got. And then I said, I'm going down to join it. He said, oh, yeah, mate, can you get me them? They were like jelly babies, yeah? And all these shops now do these American sweets. I've gone to the counter. I've got a can of Red Bull, a bottle of water, and these sweets, and it cost me £9. I said to the geezer behind the counter, what the fuck? How's that? He said, oh, these sweets are £5.50. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm waffled on there. But anyway, going back to where Jack can get to, if he done a camp properly, and I'm not saying he don't do camp properly, but if he devoted 12 weeks rather than the 8, which 8 at Southern Area level in a 10 round is probably about right, I think he could go further. And up to 100% that kid's got an English title behind him, and maybe more. But it's up here as well, whether you want it, whether you can do them. Because, like I say, he does the 8 weeks camp, and that's why he is a bit of a prick sometimes, because he's missing out on them sugar doses and them cans of Monsters. And you've also got to take into fact he does a 2-hour journey to the gym every day. So it's a bit like, go for it, Jack. But if you're going to go for it, go for it. Don't get in that ring and half-heartedly going, oh, fuck, 2 hours to the gym. You get to that gym, run to that train station, run in between platforms. Do you know what I mean? And I think he could do it. I think he could go further, but we'll see what happens.
And what about yourself? I know you're, a huge boxing fan. Would you like to get more involved in some shape or form within boxing?
It's quite funny you say that, because I had a message the other week. Someone I spoke to at a show, and they wanted to pay for me to basically go for my manager's license. And obviously, I looked into it more, and I spoke to a few people quite well in the game. Not well, but they're trainers in boxing. And they just said, look, Cole, you've got to do, I think it was 2 years as a second before you can actually apply for a manager's license. So look, the long-term goal for me is get boxing royalty flying. And then, yeah, I would like to manage fighters, because, you see a lot of managers in boxing now that really don't give two shits about their fighters. I've got a friend at the minute that's just going into a 6-rounder after like 10 fights. And it's like, I speak to Tony Peel a lot, and what a lovely guy he is. He manages Tyson, Tom Ansell. He's got a load of fighters, Brandon Lewis. And he's literally looking for the biggest fight every fight. It doesn't matter if you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0. Look at Tyson on Friday night. He put her in with Nina Hughes in her 5th fight for the Commonwealth and WBO International. So yeah, mate, definitely. I want to become a manager in time, but that's I need to get boxing royalty solidified and full time before I can even think about anything else.
One step at a time. I want to ask you about the Nina Hughes Tyson fight.
Mm-hmm.
You were there. You were watching it. Fair result.
Listen, if you just take the boxing into consideration, it was hard to split them. In my opinion, mate, by the way, the support in that Grey Civic Hall was phenomenal. It was literally, apart from, and again, I sound like, well, Mark Little's, mate. Mark Little and Jack Little, Mark Little in March when he came out to Mendes was booming. That place, you had 130, 140 people there, and this come close, It was quite nice because you had Jack and Terry, me and Chloe went, and like, Chloe isn't into boxing as such, but she was always saying, who's the underdog? I'm going to support the underdog. I was Tyson's the underdog. I didn't firmly believe that. If you go on record, she is. But onto the fight, listen, Jack, I'd never seen Tyson box. I've seen her spar with Jack, and she's always very slick, very, she's quite tall for a bantamweight. And in my mind, I always said to people, like Joe Giles, even Jordan Perkins, we spoke about the fight a lot. And I said, look, you lot are underestimating Tyson. If she sticks to her boxing, she's going to make it hard for Nina. But then you've got to take into consideration Nina's power as well. But listen, the way the fight went for me, I give Nina the first 4 rounds quite clean. I think she started very well. And I think Tyson maybe a bit of nerves, I don't know. But on the night, I scored it 6-4 Tyson. And that sounds quite mad now saying that, considering Nina won the first 4. Watching it back, I give it 5-all. But again, I had a bit of an argument on Twitter about this the other day. I do think that if Tyson had done what Nina was doing in the ring, she'd have had points taken. There was a lot of holding down on the neck and digging in the back of her head. It was quite dirty. I don't know if you've seen Jack's write-up. He thought that Nina should have been disqualified. Listen, as a home fighter, you're never going to get disqualified. That just does not happen. Do I think Tyson would have been? Yeah, I do. So I don't think the scorecard's 97-94 is absolute rubbish. There is no way Tyson only got 3-4 rounds out of that fight. But it's back to this same old thing, mate, isn't it? You've got a world championship referee there in Bob Williams, and he has not said nothing until the 7th round. And by that point, mate, it should have been 2 points off. For me, personally.
Do you think maybe it was too early to fight Nina Hughes, or do you think it was the right call?
No, I don't think it was too early. You could say the same that if Tyson had beat Nina, people would be saying, well, hang on a minute, Nina's only 2-0 and she's fighting Tyson, So I think, look, credit to both girls for taking that fight. I think Nina had to take that fight because of how old she is now. She's nearly 40. And look, Nina's fantastic, mate. Brilliant boxer. She's got a big old right hand on her. And I genuinely do believe that she'll go on to be a world champion. But Tyson's 24 years old, mate. And I'm telling you, by the time she's 30, she'll be a multi-weight world champion. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, mate. She's a young lady. She's got plenty more years in front of her. Mate, I want to talk to you about a few fights coming up. We've got Mckinson fighting this weekend, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Virgil Ortiz. Obviously, the fight was meant to happen a little while ago. Where are you with that? What are you thinking?
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because you look at Ortiz's record: 18 wins, 18 knockouts. But Mckinson knows how to avoid punches. And is it 10 rounds or 12 rounds? I'm not sure. I haven't seen. I'd imagine it's 10 because it's not for a world title. I think it's probably might be an intercontinental if so. It's going to be 12. Look, Mckinson will keep Ortiz off him for a certain amount of time. If he can keep him off him all fight, he'll win on points. But he's away. So
yeah,
every close round, they're going to give, say Mckinson lands 5 jabs, but Ortiz clips him once, they're going to give it to Ortiz. Because Ortiz is naturally going to throw that big right hand. And say it brushes off the glove and clips his chin, but for the rest of the round, Mckinson's on the back foot, jab, jab, move, spinning off him, they're still going to give it. So look, I'd like to say that Mckinson will win on points, but I just, in the sake of boxing and the way it is at the minute, I just can't see anything else than an Ortiz win, and that's quite sad to say. Because I don't think he'll stop Mckinson. I really don't.
I think looking at it, it's a tough fight. McKinson, though, he is. If anyone can do it, he's got to be the man. Surely he's an awkward character. It's amazing as well looking at his story. He's put on a Matchroom show as the away fighter against Chris Congo, done a job on him, and he's just never looked back since.
Just shows you, mate. It sounds quite weird saying this, but lockdown for some of these fighters was the best thing that could have happened. COVID. Do you know what I mean? Like Mckinson would never have got that chance at fight camp, I don't think, if it wasn't for being behind closed doors and Eddie Hearn making these 50-50 fights. You look at Kane Baker. I know he's lost a few fights now, but I hadn't heard of him. He come on, was meant to fight Aqib Fiaz. Aqib pulled out on the day, slipped in the shower, whatever bullshit that was. And now he's on near enough every Matchroom foreign show because he's fighting the big prospects. Do you know what I mean? It's like you say, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him. It's a tough ask to do. But if he can avoid it, it's a bit like Fury Wilder. Fury being the Mckinson and Wilder being the Ortiz, not on the level of Fury, of course, but we all said when it first happened, if Fury can avoid that big right hand, he'll win. And I think that's exactly what will happen this weekend.
Going to be watching it?
Oh, I don't know. You got what am I doing? Saturday is Jack's party, but who's on Saturday night? Oh, the prospects. And then Mckinson. Yeah, it's on DAZN. So yeah, I'd imagine I will have a go at staying up, whether I do or I don't, because depends on the undercard, doesn't it? Sometimes they're dog shit and you fall asleep.
Yeah, Chris Jenkins is fighting this weekend as well.
Yeah, I just literally about 20 minutes before we come on here, I just spoke to him. I think it's on Fight TV. They're charging £8 to watch that. So I'll find a dodgy stream. I think he beats McKenna. I don't think he has any problem with McKenna. I think Chris knows as well. If he loses this, I think he's going to struggle to get a fight. He was looking for a fight for pretty much since the Marku fight, and he said to me multiple times he don't think he's coming. But yeah, I really hope Chris does it. He's a nice guy, Chris Jenkins.
Yeah, totally agree with you, mate. One of the nicest blokes that we've had on the channel. People have got nothing but good things to say about him. And mate, what are we now? 2nd of August. Only 18 days to go before Anthony Joshua gets back in the ring with Usyk. What are you thinking about that one, mate?
Round 8, AJ stoppage.
Round 8, AJ stoppage.
Yeah, back it. Hold it on this channel because you'll be screen recording this, people, when you see this on YouTube saying Carl is right. AJ will stop him in the 8th round.
I'll take it you're putting your money where your mouth is then.
100%. 100 million %. Mate, Robert Garcia is an incredible trainer. And I know Usyk's brilliant, and you could bring in Robert Garcia, what's Canelo's trainer's name, and whoever else you want to, and it may make no difference at all. But listen, AJ isn't going to box the same. He's going to go and do what he knows to do. He's going to bully Usyk. And I think he'll start slow, AJ, but I think he's just going to have to, jab, big right hand, jab, big right hand. There's nothing else he can do. There's no point trying to throw these 3-4 punches. With Usyk, like Chisora did, rough him up on the inside, dig him in, hold him on the ropes, and just work. Because I think Chisora beat Usyk, genuinely.
I just feel like after 6 rounds, AJ is going to be struggling with the pace of the fight. Usyk is just relentless, and his movement's just incredible.
Yeah, look, you can't disagree when, I'm the biggest AJ fan there is, but if I'm going to sit and say, oh, no, he won't gas, then I'm just deluded. There is a chance he'll gas, but there is also a chance he'll get knocked out as well. AJ could be on his arse after 30 seconds. He hasn't got the greatest chin in boxing, but I just think there's, you see his interview with Coogan a few months back. I just think there's this side to him now, and he's back to that AJ. And listen, this is make or break for him. He knows if he doesn't do this, he's probably not going to continue. But there's still going to be huge fights. But I do believe he'll win. I really do.
I just think the mental side of it as well. There's so much pressure on him going into the fight. He's not been in the ring since, like, it was September, wasn't it, last year at Tottenham?
Yes, September. Yeah,
And
that
so
shit stadium.
you think like getting on for a year. I just feel like he's so inactive as well. Needs to fight more. I know, of course, he's a superstar. He's not going to fight all the time, but if he needs to
I,
fight at least twice a year.
I think the rematch was scheduled for June, wasn't it? But obviously, with Usyk being out in
Yeah,
Ukraine, it could never happen. But apparently, he's fighting in December as well, win, lose, or draw.
I heard that. Yeah,
Yeah, whether he does is another matter. But
on the
well,
zone.
I heard a rumor that the Fury fight's penciled in. So if they've done that, they are fucking stupid because you cannot book in a Fury fight unless it's just going to be guaranteed for the WBC. Then yeah, fair play, like book that in. But listen, he should not be. None of them. Matchroom 258 AJ should not be concentrating on nothing else apart from what is it, August the 20th, and it's my birthday weekend. So bring it home, AJ.
What day's your birthday?
18th.
18th.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully he'll do it for you, mate. Listen, mate, anything else you'd like to add before we finish up?
No, just maybe a quick shout out. Also, it was on Jack's card was Jamie Smith. He was obviously in a fight where it was quite personal towards me. With obviously everything that happened in March with Mark and Daniel Mendes. Obviously, I thought Mark won convincingly. He didn't get it. I spent a bit of time with mate Jamie and his trainer Andy Gill. Really nice people. Honestly, I've been down the gym, watched them spar, and mate Jamie just obliterated him, just smashed him to pieces. They asked my 2 pence, and I was in the gym, and I said, look, when you get him on the ropes, don't let him move. And Jamie did it. First round, Jamie got caught, didn't hurt him or anything. Second round, come out, got him on the ropes, switched to southpaw, big left hand, clean out. And also a massive shout out to Jack's team, Kieran Duffy, the most underrated trainer in the London area, I would say, mate. The game plan he put together for Jack's fight was just pitch perfect, unbelievable. All of them, Tony Peel, Kieran, and the 2 other lads in the corner, Ricardo and Ian. Brilliant. Fair play to all of them. Fulfilled Jack's dream.
Yeah, no, when I was speaking to Jack the other night, he said that he got it absolutely spot on. Tactics going into the rematch was, were perfect, basically.
He was a different animal, mate. Even on the pads, every time Jack dropped that right hand, it was a pad to the face. And that's where he got cut last time. That's that big right hand. Because no disrespect to Paul, that was the only punch he really had. He had a good jab, but the big right hand was always coming over. And I said to Kieran, I said, you're a different animal. And he just said, we're not coming home without that belt. Not disrespecting Paul, saying we're going to win. It was a case of we're training for the mindset of we're not losing.
Yeah, listen, mate, you can't have any other mindset, surely, going into a fight. What are your plans for the rest of the week then, mate?
I've got work, obviously, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning. And then we've got Jack's, I think he's called like a celebration drink thing, like down his local pub. So we're all going down there for the afternoon. He'll bring the belt with him. And it'd be nice, afternoon with his friends and hopefully some family. And nothing else, mate. Sunday, obviously, I might go to West Ham, but Mark Little sold his ticket and I wasn't very happy with that. No, just joking, Billy Boy. I'm only laughing with you. But yeah, I might go over to West Ham with Jack on the Sunday, but we'll see if I can get a ticket first.
Who are they playing?
Man City.
Oh, Man City. First game. Haaland. What?
Haaland, 45 goals by half time.
Who's playing Friday? Because it starts Friday, doesn't it, season?
Isn't it Arsenal Palace, I think?
Yes, it is.
What do you think of you boys this season? You ain't done much this window, have you?
Oh, I don't follow football anymore, mate. Nah, do you know what? I don't know. Ronaldo, has that saga been sorted? They was actually talking about it earlier on Talk Sport. They were comparing like the signings for Tottenham and United, and they were saying Tottenham have done far better business. We've let a lot of players go, which was understandable, but nothing really, no signings that have really sort of major sort of, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is with Ronaldo, is obviously I appreciate he's 37 years old. He wants to be playing Champions League football. But he could have told Man United that when he left for the summer in May. He could have turned around and said, look, we haven't got Champions League. I will be seeking a new challenge next season. He didn't need to wait until the end of the summer when everyone's coming back to training camps and going, I want to leave. Do you know what I mean? Like, full respect to Ronaldo, but he's handled that up. As much as I hate Man United, he's handled that very wrong, I believe. And I hope they let him rot in the reserves. I really do. great, better than Messi in my opinion, but he should learn a lesson here if he don't get the move.
Yeah, it's mad, but yeah, I don't know, mate. I'm looking forward to it starting again with the signings and see what happens. See like Nottingham Forest back in the Prem as well. That'd be quite interesting. But be good to have sport back on. And I know it's a little while off yet, but just looking forward to the World Cup, mate, in November.
Especially after the women on Sunday, seeing them win that was seeing the lady lift her shirt off and run around the pitch was a bit extreme, wasn't it? But not extreme for the celebration, but a woman taking her shirt off. They talk about. Well, no, I'm not going into that. Actually, let's leave that one there.
Not something you see every day, but all right then. Well, on that note, mate, thank you ever so much for jumping back on. I'll let you go. I'm sure you got printing to do, but yeah, I'll let you know when it's out, mate.
My pleasure, mate. Pleasure speaking to you.
All right, top man. Thank you.
Speak to you soon. Bye, bye, bye.